Good overnight, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back into From Day One. Let's go ahead and keep life going even though everything starts to crush around us edition. Art Bell with Travis Walton is waiting on the backside. But some of you observant may realize that this is not the From Day One account. That would be, unfortunately, due to certain weather conditions here at GC Central. We were in darkness for the last 8 hours, fully preventing us from continuing our normal production schedule. As a result, what we would have done for part 3, normally, got totally blown out. So, it's no longer available. In order to continue to produce content, however, here we are. Technically, it's 2 hours after the new day has dawned in Dominion, but we'll manage. So the first thing I'm going to show you is something we normally don't get to see over any other one, the Guild War. Beautiful, beautiful Guild War. Kraken's currently leading puck bet by a score of 240 plays 88. So while I get our fights queued, as you see there, for both Spring of Bravery and the Citadel, let's bring Art Bell, the Kingdom and I, and Travis Walton. Remember, the interview originally aired August 7th, 2015, on the topic of alien abduction. Excuse me. And on the interview, we were at the position of taking customers' calls for Travis. So with that, sit back, enjoy the special edition of From Day One, and here's our bell.
Take a walk on the wild side of midnight. From the Kingdom of Nye, this is Midnight in the Desert with Art Bell. Please call the show at 1-952-225-5278. That's 1-952-CALL ART.
Well, all right. Travis Walton is my guest. Very unusual to get the opportunity to interview Travis. He's got a new documentary coming out called Travis. And again, I guess you can go to his website and order it. How much, Travis?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I think it's 25. I think it's 25.
All right. And you also have a conference coming up called Sky Fire Summit, right?
Yes, November 5th, 6th, and 7th in the Heber Orgard, the town nearest where it happened. And we are going to have a visit to the site on the anniversary.
Oh, okay.
And a really neat skywatch with some special equipment.
How is it dealing with celebrity? Somebody mentioned that earlier, and this, of course, is going to be with you all your life. How have you dealt with it since the incident? Are you patient with people, or is it really rough? Are you eating dinner a lot of times? Somebody comes up and wants an autograph, or what have you?
Yeah, you just wash your hands and they want to shake your hand. I'm eating.
Always, yes.
No, actually, I have total patience for that. I totally understand. One thing that, Dr. Harder, right after it happened, put me on the phone with Betty Hill, and I got some advice from her about that, about not letting it change you.
Mm-hmm.
And I really took that to heart. I've worked very hard at not letting it affect me one way or the other. I'm not going to accept the idea that I'm a crazy kook or a liar. And by the same token, I can't accept the idea that I'm some kind of a great person. What happened was an extraordinary event. That doesn't necessarily make me an extraordinary person, see?
I do, and I do understand what it's like to deal with celebrity, and you have to be patient with people because at times they do jump in at the oddest moments.
Yeah, it's fortunate I live in a very out-of-the-way place, and, I'm a little bit harder to reach. But when I go out, I try to be gracious with people, understand their interest, and do my best, because that's my mission, is to educate people. And
well, on their behalf, thank you for that. On Skype, Jacob, you were on the air. Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have a question for Travis.
Yes.
If you were to encounter a UFO again, how do you think you would react? Do you think you'd feel the same kind of fear, or do you think you might perhaps try a more diplomatic approach this time around?
Yeah, that's a good question.
in other words, would I do what people say? Oh, I would stay calm and ask good questions. Well, the fear that came on was an accidental conspiracy of circumstances that made it seem far more threatening, which it actually wasn't. And I think I would handle it better, but I don't know that I would voluntarily be so foolish as to get myself injured again. However, it would be great to have some questions answered. But the big question is, would I tell anybody? And I have to say, probably not.
When thinking now of this entire incident, are there things, not that I need to know them, that you have not made public?
Yeah, but, like I say, I just try to stick to what I can document and leave it at that, because it's important to, show people that there's a reality here, and I don't want to put anything out there that can be questioned, even though it's as real as any of it. If I can't prove it, I'm not going to talk about it.
I so understand that. Hello there. Wherever you are, you're on the air. Turn your device off or down, please.
How you doing, Art? It's Grizz on TuneIn chat. I want to say hi to everybody on TuneIn.
Yes, sir.
And my question is, what did the alien smell like? What was the ship? What did it smell like? No one ever describes that.
Right, you're absolutely right.
Actually,
it's a good question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, a lot of people do have a description of the smell, and that's actually a pretty common question that people wonder about that. But I don't recall the sense of smell. And normally when you have an intense emotional experience, that the smell is very intimately linked with memory. But in my case, other than the feeling very stale and humid, it may be that the atmosphere in there was so strange, it wasn't appropriate for a human, obviously, because the human-looking guy that came in was wearing a helmet, and unless that was for some other reason.
You said stale and humid.
Yeah.
So obviously it's not like you felt air. Obviously you were breathing air, but you didn't feel air moving at all. It was just sort of a very dank environment.
Yeah, very humid, and I was breathing hard all the time, and I just felt like I could not get enough air. So I think that either that blast of energy damaged my lungs, or maybe even the neurological part of my brain responsible for breathing, or that atmosphere in there was just not right for humans. Maybe some of both.
Yeah, maybe they got as close as they could get. Chris, hello on Skype. You're on the air.
Hi, how you doing?
Very well.
Good. I was calling up. Thank you for having me on. It's an honor to be on. Don, you described, that on the movie Fire in the Sky, that the craft wasn't what it looked like, you said. But I had my own encounter. I won't get into that. But the one we did, we had an encounter with the craft had a huge glass dome on top of it. Did you happen to notice if there was a huge glass dome on top of the craft that you've seen?
Yeah, there was a dome on top. There was a dome on top, but I did not look out from it from the inside. I never got to that part of the craft, but it did have a dome on top.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was just was wondering. Like I said, I had my own experience, and it's fascinating. It's very fascinating. And you said that most of your memories were hit through when you got back through hypnosis.
Well, no, actually, it didn't add to the memories. It just allowed me to finally say them without breaking down.
What's it like being hypnotized? Is it pretty weird? I mean, are you conscious during it and aware of your surroundings? And is it just that other memories come flooding back, or what was it like?
I didn't really remember when I came out of the trance. My brother was present, and he told me about certain things that I didn't remember.
Huh.
I understand some people do remember, but I didn't.
Gotcha. Flagstaff, Arizona, your turn. Hello.
All right, thanks.
Sure. Go ahead.
Hi, my name's Zach. I'm from Arizona. Hi, Travis. Up north and Flagstaff. And my question for you is that I feel like earlier in what happened to you, a lot of what you were saying was like there was an attack on you by extraterrestrial life. So my question now is that just hearing you earlier in the show, you feel like there's more of an altruistic aspect to extraterrestrial life now? Like they weren't trying to hurt you?
Well, yeah. You see, I interpreted it as an attack. That possibly this blast of energy was even a beam that was fired, and even mistakenly as a defensive move. But now I'm thinking that it was just some kind of a side effect of the propulsion unit that, just jumped to the Earth through me. Our famous UFO skeptic even wrote a paper saying that pilots who think they see they're being circled by UFOs are actually seeing the result of the huge charges up to 500,000 volts that actually have been documented to build up in the surface of our aircraft, just passing at high speed through the air. So, maybe some kind of an effect like that of this saucer traveling through the air at very high speed, or maybe some side effect of the propulsion unit, or maybe they were in the process of some agricultural experiment there with the trees and some residual energy from that. I don't know. I just don't think it was a deliberate weapon. I think that because I unexpectedly closed the distance and got myself hurt, that it made it necessary for them to take me aboard to correct the mistake I made. So I'm not saying that they were that it was a hostile act at all, as I mistakenly thought at first.
All right. Caller?
All right. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so here's a question from somebody named Big C through the wormhole. Great show. Question to Travis. Was he a skeptic of the existence of ETs, UFOs, that sort of thing before this happened to you? I mean, did you have any attitude at all about this?
No, I was not that ignorant. I really, studies have shown that over 60% of the people believe in the reality of this, and to the extent, and the percentage goes up with the educational level. So it's really dumb people who say this can't be, because we've reached the point now where it's a virtual certainty with accepted scientific methods. We have the Hubble telescope and Kepler, and they've actually been able to fill in the blanks on the Drake equation that the estimation of habitable or life-supporting planets in our galaxy is far greater than they once thought, that virtually every star has about a dozen planets, and that there's always going to be those middle ones, the Goldilocks range, that aren't so close that they're overheated or so far out that they're frozen. And life with the right chemicals is going to be inevitable in those places.
You're beginning to sound like a scientist. Of course, you've been looking at this now for a while, haven't you?
I've been studying it for 39 years, yeah.
All right, let's, I don't know. It says anonymous, so I don't know where we're going. Hello, you're on the air.
Yeah, hi, Art.
Hello.
Calling from Phoenix, Arizona.
Yes, sir.
And last year, my wife and I were at the Skyfire Summit in the Hero Road area with hosted by Travis, and he had 2 Navajo Rangers that were speaking at the event.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys were super intense. I mean, we had a conversation, my wife and I, with one of them outside after he spoke, and he had federal, law enforcement training, and this guy would look right through you, a no holds barred kind of guy. And I was curious as to how Travis met them and if they ever teamed up together, with Travis's conviction of his story and these 2 gentlemen. It would make a powerful combination to, go on a circuit.
Okay, Travis?
Well, I had the opportunity to speak in Gallup at a film festival there on the Navajo reservation, and spoke to nearly 1,000 Native Americans in the building, and they had some amazing stories about things that happened way back in the far reaches of the reservation. It's very remote out there, and these entities seem to have quite an attraction to more remote areas. This one story I got was of a guy, his grandmother had woven a blanket depicting an encounter with these beings going way back. So, the oral tradition amongst the tribes, the Zuni, the Navajo, the Hopi, is pretty extensive, that this is not a new phenomenon. And that was the reason that I invited them to my conference, because that's a perspective that I think is very important, and that's the reason I'm having Noe Torres and Ruben Uriarte speak this year on the Cowboys and Aliens topic. That this predates the early days, the very first Europeans to come to this area. Were experiencing and seeing things even then.
All right. Harmony, very quickly, somewhere in the world, you're on the air with Travis. Hello?
Hi, Travis. Hi, Art. Can you hear me?
You're too loud. Just back away a little bit and tell us where you're calling. Where are you calling from?
I'm ringing from New Zealand.
New Zealand. Okay.
Yeah, from Nelson, New Zealand. And I had a couple of encounters in the very similar time period as what Travis is, where I looked on the net and I read some of his story. But I'll tell you the second one first, because I think it'll corroborate some of what he's saying. The second one was a visual that we had in 1978. It was some sort of a craft that came across the Pacific Ocean from the distance, about 100 miles, and it covered 100 miles in about 10 seconds, went directly over our heads, flashing strobe lights, red, white, yellow, and blue. It covered that distance in 10 seconds, didn't make a sound, and it was within a half a mile of us when it went over our heads. There's reports in Ludington, Michigan on the 28th of July that year, 1978. A lot of other people saw it as well, including quite a few people from the Coast Guard and the Sheriff's Department. So you can look at the NICAP.org website for that. Okay. Anyway, that was a visual. The other one was around the same time in 1975. I was in Los Angeles, and I was being threatened by a biker. And instead of defending myself, I sat down in cross-legged position and closed my eyes, and I got hit by a tractor beam or something, and it was like 1 billion volts of electricity, knocked me down on the ground and shook me for a minute, almost like I was having a seizure.
You sure the biker didn't hit you, right?
Then it was over. Okay, it was over. No, the biker, they just stood there with their jaws dropped. They couldn't believe and they walked away. The whole situation just diffused at that point. So I've been a believer ever since that we are not alone. We are not alone. And most of the news we hear is BS.
Well, you're right about that. All right, I'm sorry. We've got a break here, so everybody hold tight for a moment. Travis Walton is my guest. This is Midnight in the Desert, raging in the night from the
As always, we're muted just for the music bumper, so we do not have a copy protection situation. Copyright that is.
Using Skype from your computer, please be sure to use a headset mic and call MITD 51. That's MITD 51.
That's the way it's done. If you're outside North America, it's MITD 55. MITD 55. And of course, on Skype, it's free. Travis Walton is here, and here he is once again. Okay, Travis, sort of a short time between breaks on this one. So, Nayan, is that correct?
Nayon.
Nayon, sorry.
Yeah, my name's actually Nathan. It was a made-up video game name.
Okay. Where are you?
Appreciate you taking my call, by the way, Art. Sure. Me and my brother are big fans.
Right.
You caused us a lot of sleepless nights in a good way, you know.
Oh, thank you. Where are you?
My question was,
I can't get that out.
Like, do you think the ETs that you saw are kind of like, you know, like like robots or biologically programmed, like if we see an anthill, we see in cameras down there, or, you know what I mean? Do you think they're like a way to communicate, a bridge, like if they're like fourth dimensional beings, you know, do you think that's a way they communicate with us?
Well, you know, using Occam's razor, I see that no necessity for that. You know, if an advanced civilization could create a being that could stand in for an organic being to resemble in every way a living, breathing thing, it would be undetectable. So there would have been no way that I could have seen such a creation, but I also don't see the necessity of it. I think with their kind of technology, it's not that big of a leap to come here. It's just that they're being very circumspect out of, respect for our level of development.
What did the ship look like?
All right, we'll get to that. Where are you calling from? I want to get to that.
Oh, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, all right. So, yes, as best you can, describe, I guess, the shape. You've sort of already done that, but for him, if you would.
Well, a metallic disc with a dome on top, glowing areas with non-glowing areas that are more like some kind of a more rigid part of the structure. I don't know the nature of why some of it was glowing. It didn't feel hot. I was close enough that I think that if it was glowing because of a high temperature, that I would have been able to feel the heat, and I didn't feel heat.
Would you roughly describe it as a flying saucer?
Yes, like two pie pans put lip to lip, kind of angular, but the craft that I was returned from was more rounded, but again, still a disc shape. I'm thinking that something to do with the propulsion requires a generally circular dimension.
A lot of people are sending in questions on the computer asking if you have had any experience or contact since.
That's a very common question, and I always tell them, if I did, I wouldn't tell anybody, because I stick to what I can document. I did talk about that giant black triangle because I had 2 witnesses with me, and then went online and found that there was a dozen more.
Mm-hmm. I think you're doing a wise thing, because if you had another experience and laid that out for everybody, you're absolutely right. It would detract from your credibility, no matter how true it might be.
Exactly.
So, very, very interesting.
But that's the nature of the beast.
It is indeed. Glad you know that. Wilmington, North Carolina. Hello.
Hi, Art. This is Gabrielle of Eastern Paranormal. I'll ask my question, and then I'll jump off the air to listen. I just wanted to know Travis's thoughts on God before his abduction versus after his abduction, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, did you find God with the aliens?
No, I found God prior to that. I believe that if you truly understand infinity in terms of time and distance, both future and past, then God is a certainty.
You were...
I'll leave it at that.
Okay, in Snowflake, you were a church-going person, yes?
No, not a regular. I was an irregular, and that kind of put me on the edge of this devout community. But I see nothing about the presence of alien beings in this galaxy, in this universe, as in any way contradicting any religious principle.
You do understand, though, that for some people, that would
they
be...
see it as a contradiction.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I've encountered that in ways that harmed relationships. My son was girlfriend was advised to get away from him.
Wow.
By the local Catholic priest. Brought in a guy that, said his dad is consorting with demons. And it wasn't so long after that the Vatican came out and said, no, there is absolutely nothing evil about believing that there are beings out there on other planets. And
right.
So people who, say, well, if it's not in the Bible, it doesn't exist, are really pretty small-minded, in my view. They're selling God short. There's nothing in the Bible about Native Americans, and yet they exist.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing in the Bible about Antarctica, but it exists. So, the idea that if it's not in the Bible, it's not true is a little bit narrow-minded, in my view.
Very quickly, Jonathan on Skype.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Mr. Bell and Mr. Walton. Very nice to meet you both.
Thank you.
I'm Matthew. This is Jonathan's brother.
All right.
I have a couple of questions.
Real quick.
Please explain in very detail what the alien looks like. The Greys.
Okay.
In great detail, like their appendages, feet.
Okay.
Do they have irises? The color of their irises, clothing, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, they did have irises. They did not have a black obsidian-like eye. I speculate that might be some sort of a sunglass sort of eye protective covering, similar to sunglasses, because every creature that has oversized eyes on Earth live in a very dark environment. They're either nocturnal, live in a cave, or under the sea at great depths. So huge eyes imply low light. So, the idea that they would cover it with some sort of a dark thing.
All right, we're at break. So think about it during the break, and we'll talk more about what they look like when we come back.
You're gonna break my copyright. All right. Again, we'll return to them as soon as they return from their musical bumper. Alrighty. This guy is so close to getting absoluted.
University describes a fake universe as a richly detailed software simulation of people, including their historical predecessors. He says this fake universe was created by a very technologically advanced civilization. David Wren, sci-fi writer and space scientist, relates the Chinese parable of an emperor dreaming that he was a butterfly, dreaming that he was an emperor. In contemporary versions, Wren said it may be the year 2050, and people are living in a computer simulation of what life was like in the early 21st century. Or it may be billions of years from now, and people are in the simulation of what primitive plants and people were once like. David said he began bemused. The notion that humanity might be living in an artificial reality, a simulated universe, seemed sophomoric, at best science fiction. But speaking with scientists and philosophers on Closer to the Truth, he says he realizes that the notion that everything humans see and know is a gigantic computer game of sorts, the creation of super smart hackers existing somewhere else, is not a joke. Exploring a whole world simulation, he says he discovered, is a deep probe of reality. Check out the video from Closer to the Truth at darkmatternews.com and also artbell.com. Remember yesterday when NASA's Mars Curiosity rover took a photo that really looked like an alien crab monster on the surface of the red planet? Well, now they've gone one better. A new closer photo appears to show a ghost woman on Mars. It really does kind of look like a ghost woman. Take a look at the photos on artbell.com and let us know what you see. The HARP Project in Alaska, the subject of many conspiracy theories, is being blamed by some in Moscow for the failure of the wheat crop and the smoke that has been choking the city in recent weeks. The Russian government said it will suspend wheat exports until December because of the severe drought that has hit much of the country. Moscow's tabloid press has even speculated that the United States orchestrated the heat wave in order to favor its own grain exporters by blasting Russia with harmful rays from a research station in Alaska known as HARP. But the paranoia goes beyond the comments of some newspaper editors. Andrei Irishev, the deputy director of the Strategic Culture Foundation, said the real purpose of the high-frequency active oral research project in Alaska is to build a weapon in order to destabilize environmental and agricultural systems in local countries. At the moment, climate weapons may be reaching their target capacity and may be used to provoke droughts, erase crops, and induce various anomalous phenomena in certain countries. These harsh words were published in an article written by Andrei. The article has been carried by publications throughout Russia, including International Affairs. As far as weather control goes, HARP states on its website that its transmitted array of 180 antennas has no impact on that part of the atmosphere. They say transmitted energy in the frequency ranges that will be used by HARP is not absorbed in either the ionosphere or the stratosphere, the two levels of the atmosphere that produce the Earth's weather. But Russia isn't alone placing blame on the United States HARP project. Iran has also recently blamed the U.S. HARP project for the recent heat wave permeating the country this summer. Othana Zuk, an Air Force spokesman, said HARP is scheduled to be handed over on August 11th to the University of Alaska. A ceremony for the handover is also scheduled to take place later this month. That agreement allows access for 2 years, which will provide the university and the Air Force time to negotiate an agreement regarding the transfer of the land. They say the facility has been dormant this summer and don't expect to be operational until next spring because of Alaska's harsh winter. Russia and Italy, on the other hand, don't believe a word of that. I'm Leo Ashcraft for Dark Matter News.
Dang it.
It's Art Bell's Midnight in the Desert. Now, here's Art.
Here I am. Travis Walton is here. Listen to me. I've got an announcement I want to make because I've been struggling with this. So I've received a communication from a time traveler. I consider this communication to be legitimate. And I've been trying to figure out what in the world to do. He gave me a code word so I would recognize this person when he calls. What I'm going to do is the following. So I want everybody to cooperate. You can make your own judgments if you wish. But I think this is the real thing. So I am going to have, when I get done with the show, perhaps in an hour or two, I'm going to send this very long email to Keith, and I'm going to have him post it. I'm going to eliminate the code word he gave me so I would recognize him when he calls. Beyond that, I'm going to post it. So those of you over the weekend will have an opportunity at your leisure to read it and make your own decision. I received it yesterday, and I've been really struggling with how to approach this, and I think this is the right way to do it. So by tomorrow morning, no later than tomorrow morning, and probably tonight, if Keith can do it, he will post this email. It's going to take you a while to read, but I think we have a legitimate source here, just like we've got a legitimate guy on the line right now, Travis Walton. Travis, again, your documentary, Travis, it's got the newer stuff in it, right?
Yes.
So if they want to catch up on your real experience, and it is real, whether they like, have you noticed, Travis, that some people react to an experience like yours with anger?
Yeah, I've experienced that. And, a sort of a desperate need to just latch on to anything to help them dismiss it for some reason.
That's right. That's exactly right. Many of my programs have been met with the same kind of anger, and I guess it's fear-based. I'm not really sure.
It is fear-based, and some of the blasts that I get every year and a half, 2 years from somebody online.
Right.
I say, look, don't be afraid. It's not going to happen to you. And you would not believe how often that turns them around and they're apologetic. And, the extreme reaction is just fear-based.
All right. Let's go to Thornhill, Ontario, I think it is. Hello.
Hello, it's Michael from Toronto, Canada.
Okay. I'm sorry, it says Thornhill.
That's right. I'm right on the border, 10-minute walk away.
Okay.
I have a question for your guest, Travis, and for you, Art, and for your whole audience.
Sure.
I'm with MUFON Canada. I've had an experience with a UFO, and very similar to what the crew seen as what was described as streaking away. And what I'm asking about is the light. I'm actually very, very interested in the type of light. I don't believe it's normal light. Travis has already answered one of my questions when he said that the light was actually shining through the trees and onto the road. I've had an experience and met other people that say, yes, they've seen a bright light, but it did not affect the area. My question is, sir, to both of you and to your audience, has anybody or does anybody know about such a thing where a light is there but does not affect the atmosphere around it?
Well, I think, okay, Travis, for you.
Well, it lit up the area with a very strange sort of a ethereal kind of a glow. It was a very soft light, and but it was still visible from back down the road.
Right.
The reason it was washing across the road at that point was because there was a break in the trees. but it was a that foliage and surroundings very odd.
All right. Before the break, the caller asked for the best description of the alien creatures that you could give. In other words, hands, legs, digits, fingers, color of eyes, anything you can come up with at all.
Well, the hands had a normal number of digits and were, looked like 4 fingers and a thumb. Extended towards me, they seemed to lack fingernails and creases at the bend points. Now, there is a possibility that was actually a surgical glove, but that was the way the hands looked to me that were extended towards me. If they were in the midst of medical-type procedures, perhaps they were wearing gloves. Now, as far as the eyes are concerned, now that's the reason I say, people that are lumping them together as grays, the ones I saw had a pupil, an iris, eyelids that blew.
Apologies, the tape I guess is having trouble. Let me see if I can work on it here real quick. We'll try to get back to Travis and Art here in just a quick second. Meanwhile, campaign chapter 13 we are in. Trying to get a rare orange scroll, which we actually need 150 of. In order to craft. Warmer. Warmer.
Linked. No eyelashes, but definitely a very large iris, a very large pupil. Even in that dim lighting, the pupil was fairly constricted.
Almond shape, as we see depicted?
No, there wasn't a huge slant to the eye, but like I said, I really do think that a lot of these descriptions are accurate. They just are different beings that just happen to look that way. I think it might be common that either the daytime radiation on the planet they're from is so intense that they're nocturnal, or the atmosphere is so thick that not a whole lot of light reaches during their daylight hours.
Right. Your story in totality, to me, sounds like you were the accidental abductee. In other words...
That's my favorite theory now.
Really?
Yeah, Alan and Steve and someone, I think Kenny, they think it was all a plan, like they were laying for us. But I don't know. I did something very unexpected.
Yes, indeed. Some might say stupid. I mean, you know, there's a big saucer out there.
I felt like this was my own irrational impulse. They say, well, if they can control you, they can make you think it's your idea. And I guess they got a point there, too.
Claude, you're on the air with Travis Walton.
Well, thank you, Art and Travis. It's a great show tonight. I can just tell you one thing, Travis, is that people who have never seen a UFO themselves are going to be deniers. But as for myself, the UFO I saw, or should I say UFOs, two of them, were no more than 50 or 60 feet away from me in my backyard of my house in Gurley, Alabama. So I pretty much believe what you're telling me.
Yeah, once you've seen, it changes your life. Simple as that.
Yeah.
All right.
I have a little saying. For those who have seen them, no more evidence is necessary.
It's true.
For those who have never seen it and don't want to believe, no amount of proof will ever be enough.
That's right. That's exactly right. Okay, we've got somebody calling named AA on Skype. AA, hello.
Hi, Art.
Yes.
I've got a question for
Travis.
For you and Travis.
Oh,
thank you.
Okay.
I was wondering if you would have Clyde Lewis on sometime, and Travis to you. I was wondering if they spoke to you telepathically.
I think they were attempting to do so, and it wasn't working because of the brain injury. Now, the brainwave scan, the EEG I underwent, was at a very, very prestigious brain trauma center, at Barrows Neurological Institute. It's world famous. And I was put in under an assumed name, which made the test double blind. The technician did not know the nature of my injury. He was just told to look for injury, and he found it. So that brainwave pattern, that report, those scans are going to be reinterpreted with some new neuroscientists, and hopefully a follow-up to see if there's any remaining evidence of that pattern.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you both.
Right. Thank you very much for the call. Let's see. You actually touched one of them, and somebody wants to know, again, through the wormhole, if you can describe what their skin felt like.
Well, it was really just the back of my arm. It was a kind of a sweeping, sort of knocking them away kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they were, it wasn't against their skin, it was against the chest.
Right.
And he or it fell back very easily. It was much lighter and softer than I expected.
Okay. Let's see. You're on the air on the phone line. Don't know where you are, but you're on the air.
Montreal, Canada.
Okay, excellent.
Can I ask a quick question? There's been many reports of people who've been abducted who come back in pieces or not at all. That's my first question. Second question, how have your psychic abilities been enhanced by this contact? Afterwards, have they contacted you again psychically?
Mm-hmm.
I'll listen off the air.
Okay, well, I think that we would acknowledge your first statement about people, some of them coming back in pieces or not at all. And I think for the second part of your call, I don't think he's going to answer that, but...
you got it.
I didn't think you were. On to another call. Hi, you're on the air.
Hi, Art?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. Question for Travis?
Right.
Can I speak it now?
Yes, you can speak it now. He's right here.
Yeah, if you could describe what the jumpsuits looked like, and if there was any type of identifying patches or anything like that on it. And then secondly, with the human type person you saw, did that look like any type of a terrestrial type of a spacesuit, or was it something that was just something beyond what we have here on Earth?
All right.
All right. First, my apologies to the previous caller that, I'm just sticking to what I can document. As far as the suits, it was just a sort of a loose, billowy, soft material, a coverall. I wouldn't call it a spacesuit at all. It was just clothing. They were alike. It was orangish brown under that lighting. That's the way it looked to me. And the human-looking individual, it was, again, much more close-fitting over the, it wasn't like a leotard, but it was closer-fitting. Just a blue, sort of a velour or soft, weaveless sort of a fabric. And no, there were no insignia of rank or, origin at all.
All right. Several people wanting to confirm you were taken aboard one craft and returned to Earth or returned to the ground, whatever the case may be, on a second craft, in your opinion.
Right. Yeah. Of a different configuration. The more rounded, more polished one is the one that brought me back. And I did see 2, possibly 3 of those in that big hangar-like structure, whether it was a larger craft or a building. He was pulling me along pretty rapidly. I was having a lot of trouble just keeping my footing, and he was in quite a bit of hurry. And it might have been for my own benefit that it was kind of a medical emergency, rather than trying to keep me from seeing too much.
Got it. All right. We're coming toward the end. Sushi Dog or somebody like that, you're on Skype and on the air.
Hi, Art.
Yes, hello. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is for Travis. I'm curious about food and drink. From what I understand, he was gone for 5 days.
That's right.
When was the last time he had anything to eat or drink prior to the abduction? And B, has he ever thought about how he was sustained for 5 days?
Awfully good questions. Travis?
Yeah, good question. I've heard it before. Obviously, been a lot of years. Since I was only conscious for that brief, hysterical period of time, I obviously wasn't sitting down to a meal. However, medical tests did show that there had to have been some kind of nourishment, according to, their indicators, which is the presence of something they call ketones, which is a sign that you've been breaking down your own body stores
to
stay alive. And that was absent. But
and they would have tested you for dehydration, of course.
Yeah, and there was considerable dehydration. So they were either underestimating my fluid requirements or had another reason to minimize that as part of my treatment or something. But other than being somewhat dehydrated, and the evidence for that was the 10 or 11 pound weight loss.
Wow.
Very quickly recovered just by slaking my thirst, which was pretty intense.
My goodness.
Whatever means of sustenance, or for that matter, using the restroom, I don't have any memory of that other part. Whether I was in a coma the entire time or under anesthesia the whole time, I don't know. But probably had at least some conscious period. I don't know if I was fed during that time or not. But after this many years, without recalling more of those memories, I really doubt it'll ever come back to me.
All right. Let's do it quickly. The documentary, simply called Travis, is available on your website, or where else was it?
TravisWalton.com or On Wings, and the Wings with a GES on the end, On Wings Productions.
And you've got a conference coming up, a conference called Skyfire Summit, and it's
Yes, that's the website, skyfiresummit.com.
Okay, so they can, I guess, get tickets or join you there. Nothing like seeing somebody really in the flesh. Well, Travis, it's been a long time since we talked. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Great to be with you again. A great show. I love the bumper music. The whole show is great.
Thank you, my friend. Good night.
Good night.
All right. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get this email that I mentioned posted on the at artbell.com. So don't look for it immediately. I'm going to have to get back there and get it to Keith. It's going to take some doing to get it posted. But I want you to digest this over the weekend. It's really something, let me tell you. Really something. Email from a time traveler, and it's a serious one. Good night, everybody. Have a great weekend. I'm Art Bell. To the world, all of you, have a great one.
Pretty good timing, Art, considering that, yeah, this is the Friday into Saturday episode. Of Midnight in the Desert. Decided to switch down to a little lower level characters just so the experience points earned would actually go to people who could use them. As the level 130s are capped. So they wouldn't get jack squat. We do have just a few minutes left in the episode. Not many. So to finish this off, let's just do a really quick Karen. Tonight's Karen.
Well, co-taker able to get the last one. She's making the ID. You did say I had to have an ID to be here.
No, you need to give
Didn't
us
you say?
identification.
Hey, with the call taker able to get a last name. She's refusing to identify herself. My God-given right to be here on this planet, and you cannot tell me otherwise. Correct? You just lied to me. I lied to you about what? You said I had to have an ID to be here.
No, you got
That's
to
not
identify
what I said.
yourself.
When you're legally detained, you can play back on your video. When you're legally detained, you have a duty to identify yourself to a police officer. Okay, so they're saying when I'm legally detained, which I was not, that I have the... Can you try to run her without a date of birth? Like, you know, approximately 40 foot years of age.
Karen, you're outside of Nordstrom's.
We were called here to investigate after because... Okay, so they're saying that... You too. Okay, so let me... I called the police chief. Are you going to let me talk, or are you going to be the only one talking? Because right now, as a call taker, I know you want to have them on there for your safety purposes. Yes. So right now, you and I need to be talking, not them. Says who? You need to continue having a conversation with me. So, you said that she shoved you. You want to file assault charges. She's saying you shoved her, and she has witnesses. You have witnesses to say that she shoved you. She has the manager? No. No. Okay. There are other employees that were in the fitting room. I would hope. Okay, other employees? Well, there's also another woman without a mask. Isn't that interesting how she only picked me? Well, I have nothing to do with that at all. She only picked me, the white person, not the black person wearing a mask. Do you think it's a racist thing? I don't know. We're not here to talk about race. Well, you know what? It kind of seems like it's a racist thing when the black woman doesn't have a mask on, but she comes after the white one. That's the only difference. So that's only where you would file a complaint with Nordstrom Rack. Okay, but I also want to file a complaint with you for her assaulting me. Okay, and she also wants to file assault charges against you. Okay. They have cameras at Nordstrom to prove all this.
Do you have a middleman?
You have a middleman?
Yeah, my name is Judy.
That's a negative. White female approximately 5'8", 5'10". Don't take the picture.
Sir, we are identify you. I'm taking you to jail.
Okay, this is getting weird. Now they're saying they can't identify me. They're taking you to jail. How do you identify the home?
Yes, it's called failure to identify, Karen.
They work with us.
Are you able to look up anything or reverse it on the cell phone?
Well, we can't get to that. We can't get to that point. We're not on either side. We don't know what's going on because we can't identify you.
You side. Robert Eugene Eller, you are taking side. Robert Gene Eller, you are taking side.
I'm not taking
And
side.
it's really sad.
Listen,
It's really sad.
we're trying to get information from you, but we can't even get any information from you.
This happened at Nordstrom Rack.
Ma'am, you need to stay over
Ma'am,
here.
you can't leave because right now you're still detained.
No, you can't. You are being detained.
Why am I being detained?
Because we don't know who you are.
Okay, I'm being detained because they don't know who I am.
Okay?
Which
We were called
apparently
here.
is illegal.
We were called here for a situation, okay?
A situation where I was. Which we're investigating.
We don't
so if
know.
you were
We're
a victim.
investigating it.
Okay, where's the investigator?
If you
are you
were-
an investigator? Ma'am.
We are officers. We have to figure out what's going on.
If you're a victim of assault, we need to know who you are. Caravel. So, how did you know my name was Caravel? Because I heard you say it. You said it on the phone when you called 911. That's how I know. You just called and got it. Don't lie. No. You are lying to me. I just heard you call the police officer that I talked to and get my name. Now you're lying. Police officer on the phone. Now you're lying. In the sitting room. You are lying. Stop. This is the second time I caught you in a lie. Okay. Replay your video. I'm not lying. Okay. Okay. Making the situation worse. No, you are. By not following the law. First of all, I don't have to identify myself. Yes, you do. Actually, I don't. It's called common law. You should read up on it. I do not. Okay? So we both know that I don't. I am a woman of God. This is my right as much as it is yours. This is my land as much as it is yours. I did not sign up for this. I am a Christian woman of God, and you are not going to put your disgusting rules on me that are false and not true. I will not have it. You understand that? I will not have it. I'm sick of being bullied. I'm sick of being lied to, and it's not going to happen anymore. Do you understand? The CDC just released. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yay! No, I do have a bonus Kieran for you.
I buried my fiance yesterday, so I don't have time for this. Hold on, sir. We're waiting. No. The prescription line we were waiting to see her put people through after people after people. This is a restriction.
Oh, well, that's how that works.
There's nobody here. You gonna open it back up? You gonna open it back up? I married my fiance today. We've been waiting 30 minutes for person after person over here to check it. It wasn't, okay, if you have one line, then you should be treating everybody. I don't need to leave. This is not a church. This is not something I have to be quiet.
I know you may not.
You're in charge. Go ahead.
I know you may not like that, but I am.
I don't care.
Be quiet.
No.
And with that, we will bring this episode to a close. The special look in at the Krakens, and I think we're going to go after lines 1 and 2 here. Okay, so I'm going to swap that line. And actually, hold on, put the worst line up there. Worst line should be able to do it. Yeah, the worst line on 1. Put that line on 2. But the difference is if I'm going to take full power to go after it. And then Helios can join line 3. As soon as we're done with this fight, we'll call the bonus episode to a close. While it loads, of course, do make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Get us to those goals for both boxing nexters of 5,000 views of the videos and 1,000 subscribers for Google YouTube. To pay attention and start sending us items that we can send to you, the watchers of the show. CoinBase.com/join/cparsley. Less than 2-minute lessons, 1-minute questions for up to $100 in crypto through CoinBase Earn, and $10 free crypto just for signing up. It's always a great new world to release the Krakens, whether it be actually real Krakens or the Krakens inside you. So until we return tomorrow in our regular spot over on From Day One, it's always again a great new world to release the Krakens. Just like, share, and subscribe. And enjoy yourself as we play on. Shush phone. As we play on From Day One.